I remember when we did the math, we had a handful of like OG members of Mark Fisher Fitness who we were losing money on
We're
every
really
time they
losing
walked
money.
through the
Yeah.
door. Like it was something like
Yeah.
we were paying them $7 every
Yeah.
time they
Yeah.
came, or something ridiculous. And so,
Yeah.
you just get yourself, when you grandfather people into OG rates, it's good to take care of them, but it can't be that steep. Hello, my friend. On today's episode, I'm going to start with a really fun announcement, which is we have a super cool event that you can join in London. We're going to London. So join us for what we're calling is a Mark Fisher's Gym Business Growth Day. It's a one-day intensive with Mr. Mark Fisher himself in London, England. It's on Saturday, November 8th. Whether you're in London or just want an excuse to go to London, join us. If you're a gym owner who wants maybe a jolt of practical, no-fluff business know-how to finish 2025 strong, great. Or if you want to set up 2026 to be your best year yet, this workshop is for you. Tickets are only £99, so it's one of our cheapest in-person events we've ever done, but seating is limited. We have a smaller venue over there in London than we typically do. So to learn more about the event and see the full agenda, go ahead and click the link down in the show notes, and you'll see exactly what we're going to cover. We're going to spend the day with Mr. Mark Fisher and one of our Unicorn Society members, Mr. Harry Morris, who are going to both share their wisdom with you throughout the day. So please join us if you're in London or just want to come visit us in London. We'd love to see you there. Hello, fitness business nerds. What's up? Welcome to another episode of the Business of Unicorns podcast. I'm back with Mr. Mark Fisher, the Unicorn Guy today. How are you, sir?
I am doing really great.
Good. Well, listen, I would love to dive right into today's topic because I think this is a topic we should cover on a regular basis. I feel like we kind of do, but it's an important one because this is a thing that we see people get wrong all the time, and it's such a kind of an easy fix. I know it doesn't feel easy, and we're going to talk about the fact that this can feel like a little bit of emotional labor at times, can feel a little daunting, but this is a really critical thing that people need to do every single year in their business, and people just aren't. And we made the mistake of not doing it and had to eat our lunch for it. But what we're talking about today, friends, is raising your rates and how important it is to raise your rates every single year. And in fact, we have a special PDF you can download about how to raise your rates that we've updated recently with even more of our current thinking and best practices about how to do this. We've even written emails for you. Yeah, we've written emails for you.
Changed this.
Copy and paste. Yeah. So if you've downloaded this PDF before in the past, we have a whole brand new one. Go back to the website, download it again. We'll link down below. But we have new updated thoughts, guidelines, metrics for what raising your rates looks like. But I just want to start off loud and strong at the beginning of this episode. All of you must be raising your rates about every year, no later than every 18 months. And it's got to happen because everything that you spend money on costs more every year. And every year that goes by that you don't charge more, but you have to spend more, you're just taking money out of your own pocket as an owner, and also taking the opportunity for your team to make more money off the table by just letting your profit margin shrink year after year. So your rates got to go up, and today we're going to talk about how to do it. Where do you want to start, Fisher?
Yeah, I think maybe we can just take a brief review of some of the biggest changes we made, because largely this came out of. First of all, there were just some updates we had to make on, for instance, the pricing, right? So not a huge deal, but if you download it, you'll see we have slightly increased, as per we recommend with you, like the minimum acceptable numbers for any given market based on your coaching to client ratio, whether it be 1-on-1, 6-on-1, or 15+. You can find them in there when you download this. So I think that's worth considering. That's one piece. And then I think there were some things that we just saw over a couple years of people doing this. And I would clarify, I don't think there was anything wrong with the previous version, but there were a few things that weren't in there that I would see somebody that I knew ran the play doing things. I was like, oh, wait, why are you doing that? And then I'd be like, we either didn't address it or the way it written got them confused. So as like one example of that, in the original version, we really, I think, and correctly emphasized that there's a difference, I think, between a standard rate increase and what one would call a price correction, right? Now, we should note this is a highly subjective thing. Okay. There's 100%. No like agreed upon thing on like when that means. And of course, the challenge that a lot of gym owners have is you just have all this emotional weight around pricing. A lot of gym owners, have challenging relationships with money. They don't always make a lot of money themselves. They frankly make less money than their clients. So it can feel very fraught to increase the rates, because the reality is also like your clients will never like it. No one will ever be happy with you when you increase the rates. Okay. I mean, a lot of people accept it, but no one's ever excited about it. Okay. So we made a big deal, I think correctly, that the way you handle it is going to be different. If like, you're like, I done messed up, this is a big increase. That is different than the standard one, because the standard one is like when your dentist raises your rate, they just raise your rates. Let me tell you, right? If the electric company is charging you more money and the per wattage, whatever price goes up, they just charge you more money. That just is what it is.
It's like send you a
Yeah.
letter and they don't care if you read it or not. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, because even the template that we have in there, we further refined and kind of edited, because even that, in retrospect, I look at it with fresh eyes. I was like, oh, this is just like too many words. Like that's the thing. Whenever I see your price raise rates, I'm just, it's too many words. It's too much apology. They don't care. Just be like, your rates are going up. Here's what they are. Let me know if you have any concerns. You know.
Yep.
But here's the thing. If you talk to us, because we've been talking a lot lately about like making the right decisions from the beginning. Well, some of you did not take the Open Strong course, now available on businessforunicorns.com/courses. So your pricing model didn't make sense in the beginning, and you massively undercharged because you looked at what competitors were doing and you undercut, and not everybody, but some of you, right? And we now look at your numbers and you compare them to the bare minimums we have in this chart, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm charging not even half of that. Holy cow. Well, the reality is those numbers we say are the minimum, because in most markets, even with, let's say 100 members, 150 members, your numbers just aren't going to work. You're not going to be able to pay rent in that market. You won't be able to hire decent help. You won't be able to pay yourself a decent amount. It's not going to work unless those numbers make sense for that market, for the coach to client ratio, right? And that's the operating thing. So the issue with the price correction, I think the way we previously had done it was, I think we maybe overemphasized the percentage, because the percentage is a piece of this. And I think in the old one we said, you're fine to go up to 6 to 7%, but if it's 8 to 10% or more, 10% price increase. And that kind of makes sense, right? Inflation historically had been 2 to 3%. Obviously got spiky there for a hot second, maybe going back up. But, in general, 2 to 3% was sort of the standard price increase where people didn't blink. So we're thinking like, okay, 7, 8, 9, 10 starts again like, wow. Well, here's where we were not clear. The problem is, if you're only charging $110, if you go up to $130, we'd have people that are like losing sleep because like everybody's going to terminate. This percentage is untenable. It's massive. And it is a big percentage, but the absolute dollars also matter too. So yes, that is $20 more per month, but you can easily position that, depending on how often they come, as like an extra $1 per session or $2 per session, or however you want to do it. Less than, I would say less than a cup of coffee per day, but Starbucks are like $4. I don't even know what that is. It's like
like $8
price of coffee per day. Yeah, that's maybe a little bit of a mouthful. So at any rate, the absolute dollars do matter, right? And I'll give you a little bit of grace on the other side. If you are, God love you, as like, some people do. If you're charging $550 is your average revenue per month for a 4-on-1 model, and you want to do a 10% increase from there, all right, listen, you're going from $550 to north of $600. That, I think, is a little bit closer to requiring some extra love. I have to say, even saying that aloud, I'm still like, it's less than $2 a day, right? So the price correction of play was really only meant to be used when this was going to be such a missed expectation for clients that their jaws were going to drop. And I'm talking, if you like, more typically you do it if you have to like, not probably literally double, but some you probably do. But I'm talking like a 50% increase, or like $150 per month increase. Yeah. And I think because a lot of gym owners felt weighted, they looked at that percentage and then I think incorrectly created these elaborate mea culpas for things that just weren't even that big of a price increase. Because the other phenomenon you create there is, I got a 3-year-old. Right, your 3-year-old falls down, they scrape their knee. If you're like, oh my God, like your 3-year-old is going to get very disturbed because they see you freaking out. Now, on the other hand, the other thing we always say is, don't piss in their face and tell them it's raining. It's a price increase, right? Don't like celebrate them with a message. What a congratulations on this amazing opportunity to support
milestone in our relationship.
This is amazing, right? Like, again, like, but just like, don't make it weird. Just like it's a business. Your prices are going up. Yeah. Some people might love it. It's fine. Let them know to talk to you if they have issues.
I think that it's a really great distinction, Fisher. I'm glad that we continue to clarify it, because I think all of you should be thinking about, how are my clients likely to take this increase? and there's no way, there's no one percentage that's going to be the same for all of your clients
Yep.
because of the total dollar amount, like Mark said, and also because of the context, right? So the other thing that I think makes something feel more like a price correction is that you haven't raised my rates at all in 5 years.
Also true. Also
And
true.
now it's going up 10%.
Yes.
That feels huge regardless of the number because it's been nothing for 5
Yeah,
years.
I thought this was a forever thing. You know?
Right.
Which,
Right.
by the way, some also we did that too. Please don't do forever
of course.
pricing. That will bite you.
Yeah. I still see it happening all the time, and I'm like, no, we did that too.
It's so well intentioned, right? You're like, I want to be
know.
loyal to my members. I'm like, I know, but then it does work if you close within a couple of years. If you go bankrupt, then not
If
a
you go
problem.
bankrupt,
If you're
everyone's
around
still
for
happy.
10 years, you know, people on rates from 10 years ago, like, is your rent the same that it was 10 years ago if you rent?
Yeah.
mean,
I remember
obviously
when we
have
did the
more
math before we had at MFF, we made this giant price correction at one point. We referred to it as our red wedding for all of you
Red
Game of
wedding,
Thrones fans out there. I remember when we did the math, we had a handful of like OG members of Mark Fisher Fitness who we were losing money on every time they walked through the door. Like it was something like we were paying them $7 every time they came or something ridiculous. And so, you know, you just get yourself when you grandfather people into OG rates, it's good to take care of them, but it can't be that steep. And so, but I think going back to our original point here, I think it's great that you all think about how our people like to take this. And if it is a higher increase than they might be expecting or a big dollar amount for that person, given their, you know, their income, you might want to be just extra thoughtful about that. You don't have to go in with a giant mea culpa and feel bad about it, right? But you want to be thoughtful about it. Whereas, like Mark said, if you're doing a 2, 3, 4, 5% increase every year, January 1st, like clockwork, April 1st, like clockwork, that's like a 3-sentence email. It could be as little as like a 3-sentence email of like, rates are going up. Happy New Year. You know, like I'm exaggerating to make the point, right?
But weirdly, I would say actually, I don't think there's like, we actually do provide, you'll have to get the raise your rates. It's free.
You'll have to get the template, right? I'm exaggerating. We say more than that. but the point is, you don't make a big deal about it.
Yeah. And I was going to say, we do provide some suggestions for when to do it, because I do think sometimes are a little bit better than others. I think for the most part, anytime is fine. Weirdly, the one time I would suggest not doing it, oddly, which might surprise some listeners, is January 1st.
Yes, not at all.
And you might be asking, why would we say that? Well, because everyone's looking to terminate in December, right? Everyone knows, you get new clients. But December is when everyone is like looking for a new gym, or they overspent over the holidays, or again, I think the most important thing is just do it. I think that's a relatively smaller detail, but that's the type of nuance you can expect. Speaking of, can I provide one other thing,
please,
that I'll share with you here without getting the free playbook? If it's too expensive, I'll understand. So I'll give you one more consideration here. I do think there's somebody said for what is called charm numbers in pricing psychology. So I don't think everything needs to end in 9. You know, in the internet world, people for a long time were like big into the 7s, right? Everything was like $97, right? I don't know. I mean, there's even a case to be made that some people would say that ending on the 9s or even the 7s actually devalues it, because it's almost insulting because people are rounding up. I'm staying out of that. I think, you know, to my mind, ending in a 0 or a 9 is probably fine. I think a 7 is probably okay. If you have to, a 5. When you start dealing with the 2s and the 3s and the 4s and the 6s and the 7s and the 8s, or this, you sound kind of crazy. I love you.
Well, and like
those
God help you, I've seen people put decimal points in there, right? Please don't charge cents.
Yeah. And I get it. Like, and I understand why this happens, right? Because you are actually trying to figure out, and depending on how you're positioning prices, this is a weird downside of weekly price, which nobody talks about. If you're doing weekly pricing and you're trying to get to the jump, well, the weekly pricing numbers, the good news is they're going to be smaller. The bad news is if you do a price increase, if you're charging, let's say, you know, $49 per week, it feels kind of awkward from there. Like that does become a big increase, because now you're going up like $40, right? You're going on something that's already, you know, no money, right? So you're going from 200 to 240. Again, I still think that's doable, but I do understand your concern. Like, it feels like a bigger jump. So again, I think there's probably a place you need to use 5s. I think in general, whenever possible, and again, I can't say it's strictly wrong. I don't think necessarily you're going to lose sales, but I don't know. To my mind, I'll tell you, it would turn me off. I would feel weird if I'm looking at business and the prices were like 243, 376. That's like, what is these? What are these made up numbers? And again, it is harder for weekly. I'll tell you one other thing too, that, well, actually I have two other actually counter thoughts that I'm spicy counter thoughts of people that have different perspectives on this that I respect, that I just want to give air to, that's a little different the way that we would do it. I just want to, Keeler, it's not you remember going to say something about the pricings?
No, I was actually going to change to another kind of quick tip, but finish your thought.
Oh, well, I'll save mine for the end because I have two things I heard recently from someone. I was like, oh, I think I see your logic there, even though it's not what you recommend.
Okay, yeah, we'll save that for our grand finale.
Big surprise, yes. Open loop.
The other thing I'll say here, which is, I think explicit in our Raise Your Rates template, which again you can go and download for free, you all right now. But this is maybe just kind of more anecdotal evidence I want to share with everyone. Is now it's no exaggeration to say that we've helped hundreds of gyms raise their rates.
Yes.
I've been holding people's hands through hundreds of rate increases year after year in many cases. And almost every single time, they have an exaggerated fear about what's going to happen.
Almost every single time.
And every single time. With almost that fear, even the people who've now learned otherwise still have it somewhere in their belly that like half my members are going to leave. Everyone's going to get pissed at me. I'm going to be drowning in mean emails. And consistently, I've been tracking this for a long time, and just anecdotally, but maybe one day we'll do an actual survey about it. It seems to me that somewhere between 1% and 3% of your members will complain and or leave. Right. It's like a low amount of people are going to actually complain. And there'll be people that are silent about it, that are pissed about it too. But somewhere between like 1% and 3% of your members are going to complain and leave. And that's okay. I think that's part of making change, whether the change is price change, staffing change, location change, style of training change. Yep. You're going to make lots of changes in your gym over the years, hopefully. And not everyone's going to like them all. And that's part of growth. Yes. That's part of evolution. Yes. And I think that if you can just kind of push yourself to do it anyway, in spite of your fear that people are going to be run out the door, you will learn that the reaction is never as bad as you thought, especially if you follow our process and use, our communication templates. You're going to have pretty good results. And we now have hundreds of real life case studies where that's been the case.
Yep. Yeah, I think maybe in closing here, I'll throw in those two like spicy things I heard recently. I was like, oh, that's not usually how I think about that, but I kind of see the case. Hat tip to Rick Mayo, Southern gentleman, founder of Alloy, of which I am a franchisee. They did a podcast recently about raising rates for the Alloy franchisees, right? Because now the oldest ones have been open now for, I guess, a few years. And some people haven't raised rates. And, they gave some good advice. It was interesting. And I think it is probably a little bit a little easier to apply in their model because, again, the standard Alloy is like a small group model. So anybody running small group, you don't have the massive volume that like a large group could, or certainly that we did MFF back in the day. And it was interesting because Rick's take was you shouldn't email everybody. You should just like tell them all one-on-one. Just tell them casually in passing and just let it come up if there's an issue. And of course, Rick is the best. He's like smooth Southern gentleman. He'll be like, hey, I just want to let you know rates are going up. There's no problem there. Some few extras, absolute problem. No problem. You let me know if any issue. I appreciate your business. Right. And of course, like Rick is, he's so smooth. So of course he's not going to have an issue. And they understand. They did, I think, get a good job of like, you have to coach up the trainers. The trainers need to know. They even had a suggestion, which I kind of liked. It was like, oh, okay, I kind of buy that. Like get your team to sell new people on the new rate card, even though that makes it complex for a little while, before you move the other members to it, because then once you're seeing people buying at that rate, you feel more confident in the new rates. So I think at scale, I don't know that necessarily all of you can mostly do that. And I don't think he was saying like you can't email everybody, but I kind of get his point. He's like, this is going to be kind of garish if they get this weird transactional email. You don't have that many clients. You see them, just like tell them, let them know like, hey, just want to let you know, price increase is coming up. Nobody loves it, but keep your eyes peeled. It's not going to be huge, but it'll be a little bit more. But thank you for supporting our business. Okay, let's get into the dead bugs or whatever, Like there's a case to be made for, I was like, yeah, even like seeding it with some announcements, just letting people know. So it's not like they have a heads up before they see the email. I could see a case for. The other thing they said too, that is a little different the way that we think about this is, something you said earlier, I want to highlight here, is part of the pushback you get is if you've never increased your rates, people just kind of assumed your rates are never going to go up. I've been training here for 7 years and I've been training the same rate. What do you mean my rates are going up? Yeah. So we tend to think, to keep this simple and also to prevent big price corrections, do it like every 12 to 18 months. That's our general recommendation. You want to train your clientele base. This is not a big deal. It's not fun. It's not perfect, but this is the thing that happens. Like you go to the dentist twice a year, just like This is not fun, but you do it, right? It just happens in a business. I think, and again, I want to make sure I'm properly representing their point of view on this, but I think they were actually made a case for like sometimes, I think maybe because of like the awkward price jump, that sometimes waiting 2 years actually can be okay. And I just thought that was sort of interesting. I think for the most part, we still stand by probably our approach to this, not even disagreeing per se. I think we just like think about it a little bit differently, particularly for our clients. So, but anyway, I just wanted to share that as I thought there was,
I think those are great
good
perspectives
arguments to do things a little differently.
I do like, especially for those out there who do one-on-one or small group only, and you do have under 150 clients or under 100 clients, and your clients are consistently coming. I think giving them a face-to-face heads up is great.
Yeah, and I think to just play out the absurdity, I think one-on-one is a great example, right? Because if you have 8 one-on-one clients and you don't tell them, and you just send them an email and don't talk about it, everyone's like, what? Anyway,
100%. I think, and I think the only reason I would still probably lean towards recommending a rate increase every year is because it's a predictable system.
Yeah,
right?
That's a great point.
It's just like, it's just a consistent, we have to think about it, even if it's just 1%. It's 1%, right? It teaches everyone that this is what we do every year. It makes it kind of culturally a norm,
yell if you do 1%.
But you know what I'm saying? But it's so nominal. Yeah, it just becomes part of what we do.
We have to get off here. But I just have one quick story too. It's interesting. Emma, when we did our last price increase, I had a longtime ninja who just like really went hard to me on the email about how mad she was about like the price increase, whatever. And it was interesting. What she got mad at was, and like, I kind of get where she was coming from. And to be honest, I don't love how this encounter went. I wish I would have chimed in, but like Craig, our team was handling it. And then she was like mad that I didn't respond, even though that's why I had to sell that baby. I was like, I don't even work there. Why are you yelling at me? Anyway, her point was like, why are you calling an annual price increase? You haven't raised in several years, right? So of course she wasn't like, oh, you haven't raised in several years. Well, it's amazing that you didn't do that. You know, she's like, this isn't an annual price increase. This isn't annual. You don't do this annual. You haven't raised the price in a long time, you know? And of course, from the client's perspective, you know, and arguably, like, I don't know, I guess I could have been like, going forward, this will be an annual thing, like maybe slipping it in. I think I was thinking that maybe I would see that, like, yes, going forward, this will happen. Again, I'm not overweighting one person's perspective. I didn't have hordes of ninjas being like,
I think
how dare you?
It's true that, you know, and we know this in our bones and in our hearts, that like, you don't get points for the generous things that often, right? Like the things that make their lives easier. They're just like, oh, thanks. Like it happens, but they will remember the things that feel like that are not for them.
Yeah.
You know?
And it is like, listen, your price, the price is going up. I get it.
It sucks. 100%. And it's necessary part of maintaining this thing that we all love.
It is. But a great opportunity for you to work on your emotional resilience and push through the discomfort to properly weight the well-being of all parties, including yourself and your team.
Yeah. Good finale. Friends, go download our new and updated Raise Your Rates playbook and template. It'll be down below in the show notes. Just go grab it and use it next time you go to Raise Your Rates. Thanks as always, Fisher. Great conversation. Appreciate it. And dear listeners, I'll see you on the next one. Have a kick-ass day.
Bye-bye.